Just 1/2 of a teaspoon of this one thing can be comparable to ibuprofen for inflammation. And that thing is turmeric. I'm not talking about the turmeric that you sprinkle on your food or your eggs called curcumin that is really doing the magic, but you can't just take turmeric as a spice and expect it to do what I'm going to show you right now. There are 4 master switches or dials that will turn up pain and inflammation or turn down pain and inflammation. This dial right here is the pain and inflammatory factory. It produces pain signals and inflammation. The second dial is the master inflammation on switch. And then you get the third dial. This is the inflammation megaphone. It's like an amplifier. It amplifies inflammation. And this is why a lot of the drugs for autoimmune diseases target this biochemical pathway. And then we have the 4th alarm right here. This is the backup inflammatory alarm system. I'm talking about inflammation. And this one's really important for asthma, inflammation, and autoimmune disease. Let's first talk about ibuprofen. Ibuprofen is really good at turning this knob off, pain and inflammation, and it does so very quickly. But here's the problem. Part of this process here protects certain organs, like your stomach and like your kidneys. And so when you take ibuprofen, it will turn off those pathways and you can end up getting side effects like stomach ulcers, problems with the kidneys, AKA side effects. And the other thing you need to know about ibuprofen, ibuprofen does not deal with these other pathways. It doesn't deal with the master inflammatory on switch or the megaphone or the backup inflammatory system. And this is why people have to keep taking it over and over and over again, because it doesn't resolve the whole process. Now, just as a side note, Tylenol doesn't even affect any one of these. Tylenol works in your brain, and so it shuts off the central nervous system for pain so you don't feel it. But it doesn't do anything for inflammation. What about aspirin? Aspirin only focuses on this pathway right here. Not this one, or this one right here. But as you know, when you block things right here, you can create side effects with the stomach. This is why people that take aspirin end up having bleeding stomach sometimes and other side effects. Now with Tylenol, you can have a lot of side effects in your liver. Now let's switch over to turmeric. What does turmeric do? Turmeric has a completely different strategy. It affects not just the COX pathway, but this pathway and this pathway right here. Not as strong, but it starts to turn down the dial of all 3 of these right here. Taking 1,500 milligrams with black pepper, because black pepper helps the absorption of turmeric. Only 1/2 teaspoon of this extract can create a comparable effect to ibuprofen. Extra virgin olive oil does mimic some of the effects of ibuprofen at the molecular level. Not as strong as ibuprofen, but it turns down the dial. And so this is why I would recommend using this on a regular basis on your salad. And as a fun fact, do you know that little tingle that you get in the back of the throat when you actually consume the real extra virgin olive oil? Did you realize that if you took liquid ibuprofen, you would get the same effect on your throat? Ginger is kind of an unrecognized, under-acknowledged remedy for this pathway right here, which is really good for turning down inflammation. This pathway is like the amplifier of inflammation. Also, this pathway is where the omega-3 fatty acid works, like fish oil, cod liver oil. Will address this pathway, which helps reduce inflammation. Now, Humira addresses this one right here. A lot of people take this for autoimmune disease, and now you know why, because it reduces the megaphone of inflammation, but it does not work on this pathway, or even this pathway. It just so happens that boswellia, which is an herb, this targets 5 LOX. So boswellia is another great remedy for inflammation. We want to correct him with going on a low-carb diet, okay, because that's how you correct insulin resistance. You have to give up something called ultra-processed foods, aka junk foods. You want to do, of course, intermittent fasting, very important. Intermittent fasting is probably one of the most powerful things to reduce inflammation that you can do. Your inflammation just goes away. Your arthritis goes away. And then prolonged fasting is the next level anti-inflammatory. There's several nutrients involved in inflammation as well. Having enough magnesium can reduce not just inflammation, but any type of muscle inflammation. And vitamin D is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatories as far as natural things as well. When you're deficient in vitamin D, you're going to have inflammation. If you're lacking zinc, that can create inflammation. If you don't have enough omega-3 fatty acids, you can have inflammation, especially if you have too many omega-6 fatty acids, which is part of the seed oils.